I'm calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We have we have 7 people here and 1 person on the phone. Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from February 3rd. Can I get, is there any discussion about the minutes? Any additions or corrections? Can I get, okay. Second, okay, all in favor? Okay. Any opposed? No, okay. Managers report?
Homeowners arrears of 90 days or more. Homeowners arrears is $9,098.93. This is one homeowner that's at the attorney's office in a payment plan and currently making payments. Marina arrears is $14,657.40. This is 8 members. It's 10 slips. Matt will have some more to say on that during his report, but I did get one little small, very small partial payment today. So the total arrears is $23,756.33. Maintenance requests, we had approximately 26 maintenance requests. There may have been a few more that came in after I did this. You can see same kind of things as always. It's 4 common property, 1 in the marina. We did have 4 inspection reports come in past month, which do require a lot of work to do. Couple of gutters, some painting. We had 4 roof leaks. Another leak that was not roof related, some rotten wood or siding, 4 that are other exterior things, and a couple of landscaping requests. So it was kind of a busy February. Just a reminder again that the Centricon termite fee was billed in February. I still have multiple people that haven't paid it yet. So if you haven't paid your $84.50, please make sure to pay that when you can this month, preferably. I have some pictures of the roofing, just something that people can see, all the roofing that we completed over this past February. Some have before and after pictures that the WABO sent to us. The roofs definitely look 100% better. The feedback I got from this company was that everybody was very pleased. They were clean, they were neat, they were fast, they were efficient. We were real excited working with them. They sure look nice. We're gonna do, we've got 1 more building to go, and they will start hopefully on March the 12th, weather permitting. And that'll be the first building on Sandy Cove. And that is all I have for y'all. Okay.
The next item on the agenda is are the committee reports. First is the architectural committee. There were no requests for that. Second is finance.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, next slide. Joy, first, for the month. Again, what you'll see is some green and some red for the month. This is again, the budget versus actuals. And the chart below simply just restates what's, in graphic forms, what's, on the chart itself. Higher income for, January was mostly influenced by catch-up homeowner payments and late fees. And then the expenses, um, mostly the higher expenses than budget were driven by mostly by a insurance payment that we made. I believe that was that's kind of out of cycle from what historically we made. Right, okay, so that, but overall insurance has been reported before is our total insurance is projected to be lower year end. So we're looking good in total, but again, for the month, it did have an effect. And then for year to date, next slide. Year to date. Year to date, again, year to date for Bow Harbor Association is actually the first quarter of our first quarter of our budget cycle. So it's 3 months, just as a reminder to everybody that may have forgotten. But again, same way to look at this. The green is favorable variances on regular income and expenses. As a year-to-date, income being higher is mostly influenced by slip rentals fees and CD interest, actually. And on expenses, lower expenses are really being driven by, a big part of that is lower personnel cost, offset by some fairly large maintenance expenses. Most, I guess, prominently was the marina work. I think we paid for the circuit feed to Pier A or C, Pier C. But again, all things together, we are still favorable year to date on expenses. And on capital at the bottom, again, favorable, but this tells a little different story in that we are actually behind the budget plan. This was originally the plan. I think we had budgeted for the roofing work toward the front of the year, and this budget's a little faster by a month or two maybe than what the budget was. So again, the favorable variance is really just tied to timing for capital expenses. On our reserves, total reserve balances, and this again, this chart looks at, the way I compare these is from the original end of our budget cycle of 2024 to today. So that's always the comparison I'm doing. As a total balance, you'll see from the table at the top, we're lower $39,201. This is mostly influenced by the insurance payment that the first of the year larger payment that we had, I think it was in December, and then the other $29,000 payment we had in January. Again, these are expected ebbs and flows of the budget cycle. So we're still, I think, tracking along pretty good. Now, I will say on the capital reserves, I expect those to go down pretty well next month, probably below 400,000 is my estimate. And that's a planned occurrence because of the payments I think we've already made to Wabo Roofing. We contribute each month, just as a reminder, a total to reserves of what, 52, I think it's 52,000 a month of each monthly from our dues goes back in straight into reserve. Some of it goes into the operating reserve, some of it goes into the capital reserve. But so when we have these ebbs and flows, we can also offset those by the fact that every month we have a routine payment that goes back into that bucket. The plan for end of the year would be, as I said from the beginning, to be neutral. So by the time, or surplus, by the time we get to the end of the year, the deposits made back into our reserves, less any of the payments that we've made through the course of the year to take care of capital or operating items will be neutral. That's outside of any emergencies or unknown, unexpected type impacts. Okay, and the last slide on cash accounts, a couple of things here. I talked about the fact the reserves from the end of the year last year to today are lower because of insurance payments. That's actually offset by operating fund balances from today to that same period in October. So the net to the last set of columns on the end, the net to our total cash reserves, this is not including the assessment funds, is flat. And so year to date to the end of last year's budget closeout, we are flat from that time. And then the last set of columns is again our assessment funds, which are, I separate those. And just as a reminder to those that are tracking, these our finances, all the interest when I report on a monthly budget or year-to-date budget, that interest that's tied to the assessment funds is taken out of that report. So those are included in the assessment balance. So as an example, if you look at the end there at the total assessment in bank account, what we've got in the bank, that additional, we've grown $48,000, a little over that since the end of last year. That's not only the payments made by homeowners, that's about almost $7,300 of interest also. And then just talking to Joy a little earlier, actually, I think we paid out 100% on all the payments. So we're paid out. The growth that will occur from this point forward until we start to withdraw these funds will be purely interest. So it's going to be in the range of $2,000 to $2,200, $2,300 a month, depending on interest. It is in a money market account. So depending on interest rates, we continue to grow that balance all the way up until a point that we start using those funds. So that's the very positive aspect of our funds sitting in the bank account ready to use for the purpose that they were voted on. Okay, so I want to jump off of that, and I do want to follow up, and I'm calling it part 3 of ongoing report out on a proposal that the Finance Committee has for our rate, looking at our flat rate versus proportionate fee rate structure. Now, I'm going to run through this pretty quick, and there's a lot of stuff, some specific details in here. Please bear in mind, all this information is going to be repackaged at the end and prior to any kind of vote or anything like that, and sent out as a composite document so everybody gets everything all at one time. And hopefully, if there's enough interest, which I suspect there may be, and once we flush this out, then we'll certainly have a workshop to talk more about the questions people have. There's going to be a lot of questions. I get all of that. But for now, it's just my intent is just to go over at a high level the concept and then gauge the interest of the community. And based on that feedback, then we can decide to invest further in this work and have, our attorneys look at it, our accountant and whatnot, and make sure that the appropriate refinements to it or issues are flushed out before we start actually talking about in a workshop, a final proposal about what this is going to look like. So that's the plan. Last month, I did go over what's here as a precursor to what I wanted to talk about. This slide essentially just addresses the variations in the property values, which was really the premise for why I feel like the proportionate maintenance fee concept is appropriate at this stage of the life cycle of Bow Harbor, of our community, that it's time to really look at this and in a serious way and offer a solution to the community to weigh in on. So on the next slide, if you would. So the background, a little more background on this proposal. The common alternative to flat fee structures is a proportional fee tied to the size of a home, typically a graduated rate per square foot. This approach, in that it's popular as an alternative, it doesn't properly address the diverse range of differences in the properties within the Bow Harbor community. A better balanced approach that addresses this diverse range of properties is important, I think, for the long-term success of Bow Harbor, our community. So as an approach, an approach that uses property values, and when I refer to in the future property values, I'm talking about tax appraised values. Just to be clear on that, this takes into account these wide variations that that our properties have in the most equitable manner. Using tax appraised value, and I'm tying this specifically to a Harris County Appraisal District's process that we're all very familiar with, leverages a methodology that these methods of appraisal are regulated by state law and utilizes a process that allows for a defensible means to address disagreements in property values. We all know what that defensible means is when we protest our tax values and go through that process. For those that have, there is a way that is regulated by local government that is prescriptive and is followed very consistently. This information that I'm talking about, for those that aren't as familiar with tax appraised values and the process, this information is all public information, and it can be accessed by anyone within the public domain. Since this information is readily available to all homeowners within Bow Harbor or anywhere, information can be extracted from the public data to establish key benchmarks for use in establishing a rate structure for our community. So going to the next slide. This methodology, and again, this is conceptual at this stage, but I have actually, just a heads up, I have worked through all of these just to make sure it could be done, and was able to calculate all the rates using the methodology I'm about to talk to. So it is something that's fairly easily doable. It's not complex. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that. Using the established median, the centermost appraised value in the Bow Harbor community, provides a point at which any of the property's values, either higher or lower than the median, can be adjusted up or down as a percentage difference to establish an adjusted billing rate. This median property value would also represent the community's base billing rate of $477. So 477, we all know what that number is. That number would become the anchor point for a median property value in the community. And that becomes very important, because then we can start to adjust up or down any other property against that and establish a different way to deliver a billing strategy. So all billing rates in the community would again be adjusted on percent change times the billing rate. The total adjustment would also see, I'd envision a cap or a collar, high and low. So the adjustment either direction is as reasonable as possible for all homeowners. And you'll understand that further down the road, why that's important, because some of the differences, high and low, are fairly significant. And, you know, the ideal of a successful rate structure, at least in my opinion, is it can't be punitive, you know, and it can't be so low that it's also a, you know, problematic on the low end either. It needs to stay within a certain level of boundaries that makes it reasonable for all homeowners to, you know, to get on board with. So that, in addition to that adjusted rate, a cap, and the cap, as I said, to correct for overages or underages, a final adjustment is needed. When I myself ran these, if you just run it on the flat scale, up and down, you come up, because the distribution of information is not a perfect symmetrical distribution of data because of the skewness of high and low property values. It's the median value is not quite the perfect middle point. So what happens is when you adjust it high and low against that number, you come up with either a slight overage or underage. And the concept here for Bow Harbor Association is that we would not, this is a billing redistribution. It is not a mechanism to increase nor decrease the revenues to Bow Harbor Association. So on the back end, after we do the adjustments, if we're over recovering, in this case that I looked at, it was about 1% higher just by applying all the rates across the board, we would actually reduce each each property by, in this case, it was a little less than $5 each, to get to a billing rate that exactly is equivalent to the amount of dollars we would receive if we were billing it flat. So there's a little adjustment on the back end. It's not significant, and that would be something that anyone will be able to see. There's not going to be any mystery or magic to that. If we over recover, we adjust it. If we under recover, we adjust it, because the goal at the end of the day is that Bow Harbor nets the same revenues as it would have if they were billing it flat. That's the ideal. So it allows flexibility in the billing, high to low, but it also doesn't, it's not a hidden increase or, or retrieve less revenues than what's currently set when we bill at 477 times 237 homeowners. That rate is the rate we plan to run Bow Harbor Association. That's what the association needs to do its budget. But the billing can be distributed in a flexible way that we can still get the association can still get the same funds, but that we could still allow that flexibility with the billing. So that's the ideal. So in summary, on the last slide, thanks, Joy, the proposed method in adjusting billing rates to homeowners would utilize property values relative to a mean property value within the community. This represents a current base rate to adjust billing up or down to establish limits, high and low. The concept establishes publicly available tax appraised values as the equitable means of establishing billing of dues to all homeowners. And the last thing, again, the most important part of this is Bow Harbor Association, Inc. does not derive an increase or decrease in revenue. This is revenue neutral to Bow Harbor Association. And I look at it more as a billing service to the community. So that's it. The last slide, next steps. Real quick, one more back there, Joy. Yeah, there you go. So next steps, we really need to survey the community, engage interest, either to continue or defer. I really need that feedback because I think the work gets more expensive to flush this out. Again, lawyers and accountants, CPA need to look at how this structure would, if it's defensible, if it works, if it's legal, if it, how it would work within the confines of our conditions, covenants, and restrictions, et cetera. All that work needs to be done. But before we do that, we really want to hear from the community on whether a go or no go. With that, then we would take the next step, run it through for reviews, do the refinements, and then there would be, at the end of that, if everything goes, we would prepare a final proposal, send out the communications on that proposal, which would have all this information already in it, have a workshop or more, and then vote. So that's the plan. I'd like to say what the timeline of that is, but I'd be, really guessing at this stage, but as we'll try to work as fast as we can, but obviously we got a lot of other things we're working on at the same time. So we'll keep it going and keep it on our radar screen to get it to the community to take action on. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. That was very good. We look forward to more information. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the yacht committee. No requests. You have some.
I have plenty of information, requests for plenty of information. I don't know. I'm a job here. While we're waiting for the cord to come around to me, I wanted to also say, or give a big thank you to Mark, all that doing on that. Completely impressive to me. And I think it's at least as long as the time that I've been here, it's unprecedented on boards and everything like that, for that much work to be put in on these things that need to be done. So I wanted to publicly thank you for that. Okay. Now, Marina, we'll start with the Marina lease summary, which is one lease in, one lease out. Total income was $10,643.80, which was 118.1% of the budgeted amount, which is a good thing. The one that moved out sold their boat. Some other things that fall under the category of the marina and including the canals, things that are going on. Joy had mentioned that there was some repair that has strictly to do with the marina, electrical repair. We had to run an electric line from the mains out to one of the piers. That was $20,000, and that is totally due to the marina, that running power out to that marina. Okay. We had some safety repairs that were done, were around $3,300. That goes back to the hurricane damage that was done. And we've already spent all the grant money and everything like this. So this is coming out of our funds, just to keep you in touch with what it's costing to have the marina. Now, on the subject of arrears, which seem to be soaring, okay, and they seem to be because they are. I have tried to contact everyone on that list of 10. I think it used to be a list of 11 at one time. Maybe, yeah, I see that one name is missing out of the ones that, anyway. Yeah, okay, all right, good. So anyway, so we have at least 10 people who are in arrears on their marina lease fees. I've tried to contact some of them. We know for sure that one of them is uncontactable. One that I tried to contact said, "Oh, no, I sold that boat to this guy." And then I contacted him. He said, "Oh, no, I sold that boat. I don't know what his name is. I got his phone number, okay." In other words, we're not going to get anything. Okay. So, and then some of them, the Sea Scout slips, he's inching his way back into the black. But there's some other ones that haven't responded. I gave them, a certain amount of time to respond. I'm going to contact them again probably tomorrow. And then with a certified letter, my intention is to legally go after these fees that they owe, whether it's small claims court or whatever. That'll keep legal costs down to my willingness to go into small claims court or whatever. I haven't done that before, but we'll see how it goes. But I think that attempt should be made, because it's getting clear that people are just kind of scoffing at their responsibilities, which kind of leads us into the next thing. Was I attended a meeting of CADD, which is Citizens Against Derelict Dumping, which is essentially when you see a watercraft or something there anchored out on the lake and nobody lives on it, it's not lit. And they're usually the registration numbers are filed off. There's no way of telling who it belongs to and things like that. It became a little bit more, I was quite a bit more enlightened on the whole thing at this meeting. There was a number of people there, well over 20, and some law enforcement and everything. There's the state has, a section that handles it. The GLO has a section that handles it, and local law enforcement has sections that falls under their auspices, so to speak, but nobody has any money to do anything about it. That's what I was assured of when I also contacted the GLO and I said, "How do you go about getting these derelict boats out?" We have one that a sailboat that is sunk, and we raised it, and it's sunk, and we raised it again, and now it's sunk again. Before we could get it hauled off, because essentially you have to have a place for it to be hauled off. That entails somebody that's pay money to move it, so that with the idea that they might be able to salvage enough and clear a profit. Okay. Otherwise they'll be doing it as like a percentage off or something like that. The whole idea is, unless they feel they can get a profit out of it, they won't do it for free. And which means that essentially Val Harbor is going to be paying this bill. You have to go through certain steps to have it declared a derelict, or with the GLO. And if you go with the Texas Parks and Wildlife, you can, if you go through certain steps, you can get title to that craft for what it's worth, but then legally you're able to do something with it, because technically you own it at that point. Up until that point, it still belongs to the owner, even though they haven't paid their slip fee. Sounds like fun, right? Yeah, it is, exactly. It does not work in the favor of marinas. As it was mentioned, there's a couple marinas that have as many as 30 boats. One person mentioned how some guy was in broad daylight towing his boat out right in front of the marina and anchoring it, and people were kind of trying to catch him at it. But the thing is, unless you get a law enforcement officer right then and there and catch him, and you can charge him with certain things, because it is against the law to dump a boat. But if you can't tie it to an owner and you don't catch him in the act, it's virtually impossible to do anything about it. So what does that mean? Well, okay, in my mind, what it means is we have a for sure derelict boat that has to be removed. Luckily, it was a sailboat, which means it doesn't have an engine. And if it doesn't have an engine, it has less likely for it to be an ecological problem with oil spills and things like that. But as soon as you get into a boat that has an engine, you have that problem. Okay, so people that are in arrears are being irresponsible about their watercraft. And in many ways, there's not a really good reason to become responsible, but they might. And we might catch up on some of these, but we have to look at it from the standpoint that any one of these boats could become just stuck out there. Nobody's paying on it, nobody's doing anything, in which case we'll have to make actions to either get it declared a derelict or try to take ownership of it so that we can either possibly sell it and make some money, or so that we can even get it out of the marina so that it doesn't become a much more dangerous situation like these motorcraft, things like that. So that's what's going on in the marina. Okay, it's been going on really, I would say, for a number of years. And you've seen comments from homeowners that have gone out there and saying, oh, what's up with this and everything. And it sounds easy to handle. Well, why don't you just get them out of here? Well, that's why you can't do it easily. But it can be done, and I'm going to try to do it. Okay, so that was that. I think we had one more. Oh, yes. One other item kind of falls under the category of the marina and the canals is that we are working on this project where at the entrance to the canals, we're going to work on the bulkhead there. And there are 7 homeowners that are involved with slips and the movement of those slips before the bulkhead could be reached. We're getting that project going, and we're expecting, by all reports right now, we're expecting Payne Brothers to be here at the beginning of June to start bulkhead work. So, and I think that's worthy of report, and so I'm reporting. Okay, any questions? Okay, that's all for me.
House and grounds, I have no request. And do you want me to remind people about the work day? We're going to have a work day on the 8th, Saturday. And you want to tell us about it? You're going to be there.
Yes, there's hopefully several of us that are going to be there, but the Garden Club, Nassau Bay Garden Club, and Beautification Day have donated flowers to the different communities, to include Bell Harbor. So it's not costing Bell Harbor a dime. So we really wanted to encourage, what a great way for neighbors to get together and get to know each other. So Saturday at March 8th at approximately 8:30, we'll be meeting at the entrance of Bal Harbor and plant flowers. And hopefully we'll get done between 10:30 and 11. The more folks we have out there assisting, the quicker we'll be done. So invite everybody. And even if you can't plant, just to come out and just meet us and yeah, just enjoy, hopefully, the beautiful day. Hopefully we won't get rain. I know they said 30% chance, but I'm praying that it won't happen, at least till after we plant. So anyway, thank you.
Okay. The tennis.
Tennis, the total income to to date is $11,458. It's about 33% of budgeted. There is no new members and nobody quit this month. As the weather gets better, we probably will have more activities. That's all I have.
Did the pickleball courts get used? Do you know? No? Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yes. No, wait. Yes, back to you.
This is about the nominating committee. I, Brenda Hess, am the chairman of the nominating committee this year. My committee members are Janice Balsamo and Lori Vaughn. There will be 5 board positions available this year, 3 for a 3-year term, 1 for a 2-year term, and 1 for a 1-year term. There is also an audit committee position available for a 2-year term. Any homeowner who would like to be considered for one of these openings must submit an application, then have his or her biography submitted to the office by March 28th. The nominees will be announced at the April 7th board meeting. The elections will be held at the annual meeting on May 5th.
I'd encourage anybody who's interested in becoming a member of the board to go ahead and fill out your applications and provide your biographies, and also for the audit committee. Okay. And our next thing is old business, and Fred's going to talk about 2 things.
Okay, thank you, Jan. So under old business, we have 2 change orders to the roofing contract. And on the agenda, there's the first one. So when I finish with the first one, I'll make a motion that we add the second one to the agenda, and we'll go ahead and hopefully get that approved. So for the first change order, is to Wabo Roofing Systems, change order number 1-2025, was dated the 4th of February of 2025. When Wabo Roofing prepared their proposal, they were assuming they costed 1 layer of felt underlayment under the shingles. So they would remove the felt and the nailing system that held the felt down. When they started work on the first building, they uncovered 3 layers of roofing felt. So the 2 previous roofs had been put on top of the original roofing felt. There's 3 layers. They sent us a nice photograph where they'd cut through it and showed us all 3 layers. Then they found out on the other buildings there were 2 layers of roofing felt instead of 1 layer. So this change order is to compensate them for the different conditions. If you look at the change order number 1, project cost, under paragraph 9.01, A, differing conditions process, Wabo Roofing Systems has reported that the first building to be re-roofed, which was 2626 through 2628 Sailboat Drive and 18102 through 18104 Starboard Drive, has 3 layers of roofing felt and associated nails under the shingles. They had also found 2 layers on each of the 3 remaining buildings. Their proposal cost was based on removing a single layer of roofing felt. So below that is the additional cost per building. So the first building with 3 layers was an additional $1,880. The next building with 2 layers was $1,410. The third building with 2 layers was $810. The last building with 2 layers was $1,410 for a total of $5,510 in extra cost. If you go to the next page, that summarizes the old contract price, which was $166,019.65. So this change order increases that by the $55.10 for a total contract price of $171,529.60. So below the box, these changes raise the contract price to the $171,529 and 60 cents. They do not affect the duration of the project, and they did not change the payment schedule other than the increased final payment. So we had approved this by email, and I wanted to go over this with the board. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve change order number 1-2025 as written. Is there a second?
Second.
So Ralph made a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, can I go ahead and call for the vote, Jan? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries, or change order number 1 passes. Okay. Okay, so I'd like to make another motion that we add to the agenda under old business, the Board of Directors to ratify the email vote to approve change order 2-2025, the increase in scope of the Wabo roofing contract. Is there a second? Second. Okay, Jan seconded. Ralph was right behind her. Okay, all in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so change order 2-25. Wabo Roofing proposed re-roofing building 18101 through 18117 Sandy Cove Drive. So I'm gonna, that's the objective, that's the purpose of this change order, is to add that building to the scope of the contract. So we'll start at the top of the change order. Wabo Roofing Systems proposed, this is change order 2-2025. And this was effective February the 27th, 2025 by email vote. Change 2, project scope. Wabo Roofing Systems has proposed re-roofing the building, which includes 18101 through 18117 Sandy Cove Drive, with the same materials and methods as their work under the re-roof proposal dated November 11th, 2024, for which final contract terms and payment agreement schedule was dated January the 13th of 2025. Additional cost for 18101 through 18117 Sandy Cove Drive, $48,846.57. Note, this price is equivalent to, and in parentheses, slightly less per roofing square, close parenthesis, than the previous 4 buildings on a per square basis. Material prices are due to increase on March the 1st of 2025. So if you go to the next page, our old contract price was $166,019.65. The previous change order we just approved, change order 1-2025, was $5,510. This change order is $48,846.57, making the new contract price $220,376.17. So these do raise the price of the contract to $220,376.17. Does extend the duration of the contract with a completion date expected by the end of March 31st, 2025. And the payment schedule will be due, final payment will be due upon completion after acceptance by Bal Harbour Association. So I'd like to make a motion. So to give you a little background before I make the motion, when we were discussing this by email, Mark, is it safe to say that you did a very nice job comparing the cost per building, and that the cost that they're proposing was in line with the work they'd already done and slightly less expensive, just slightly. So we were all very comfortable in seeing that. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept change order 2-2025 as written. Is there a second? Jan seconds it. Can I go ahead and call, or do you want to have a discussion, Jan? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you, Fred. That was very well presented. Okay, the next item is new business. Is there any new business? No? Okay. Homeowners' comments? Anybody? No? Okay. General comments? Nobody has any general comments?
I'll make it quick
Okay.
when it's time. I just wanted to say that I've been really impressed with Wabo Roofing. You know, I have not been over to actually watch them do the roofing, but I've heard it. And the comments I've heard from other people and owners in the community is they've done an excellent job with the work they've done. So I'm glad it's worked out well.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Did you, anything else? All right, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the meeting's adjourned.